You know, they say that you should never say never, but I'm going to say never. Never in my 23 years of being in sales had I ever finished dead last, back to back. So you can imagine my confidence was shooketh, to say the least. Today on the Sales Life Podcast, I am going to share with you 5 of my personal lessons that I learned while getting my butt kicked. Stay tuned. All right, TSL, let's get it. Welcome to another edition of the Sales Life on Sales Edition. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. I am your host, Marsh, Buice. In the Sales Life, there's 2 different podcasts. There's the Sales Life, which is for those who are it's taking the skills that we learn by profession and apply those to your personal life. But then we have the Sales Life Sales Edition. And even if you're not in sales, man, I think that you're going to find some useful tips, because sometimes as a senior manager on upper levels, we think that we're Teflon. We think that we're untouchable. We think that we cannot fall off of our mountain. And I am living proof that that is not the case. So for context, man, let me set the story up a little bit. So I had a bad month, 1 month. And so I had a bad month. And, you know, we all have bad months in sales. And so the whole time, man, I was trying to pull that thing up, but it just didn't happen. So month 2 comes around. Cool. Brand new month. You know, when you start off with a brand new month, you feel brand new, right? You're back at zero, new starting line. Let's go. So here we are. So I set off the second month, had a bad month, put that behind me. Start off with the second month, dude, I'm on fire. Absolutely on fire. Let's go. Bring me another deal. Bring me another deal. Bring me another deal. And then the wheels got wobbly. And then all of a sudden, dude, they flew off. And I couldn't get my footing back, man. And I did everything that I knew to do. So I was very careful. I kept my mouth shut. I didn't voice my frustrations, because I teach my salespeople, don't sit there and speak about what you don't want to have happen. You've heard me. Those of you who have rocked with me on the Sales Life hear me say that all the time. Shut your mouth. Stop saying stupid stuff. So I kept my mouth shut. I listened to nothing but positive things. I stayed away from the news, nothing negative. I cheered myself on. I did all those things. I wasn't selective in getting certain deals. I wasn't trying to cherry pick. I wasn't doing any of that. Bring me another deal. Bring me another. And dude, it was just like every single thing I would have a good one. And then it seemed like I would have 274 bad ones. And I couldn't get it up. I couldn't make it work. And I finished the month dead last. So here is Marsh, the teacher, the guy who sits in front of others and teaches others. Here's old Marsh, who has taught me what to do. But you're finishing dead last. I didn't know what to do. So I did the only thing I knew to do, which is why I titled this episode, "When the teacher is ready, the student will appear." Because the only thing I didn't do, I didn't ask others who had a front row seat of what I was doing. I didn't ask them the one question that would have turned my situation around. What am I doing wrong? And they let me know. So quickly, man, I want to run through 5 lessons, 5 going on 1,000 lessons that I've learned. And I post this, number 1, because I want to keep it real. I ain't got it all together. I fall just like you do. Number 2 is, this is really important for those senior salespeople, senior managers who put this the shield around them, thinking that they can do it all themselves, thinking that they're untouchable. And as a manager, it's easy to blame someone else. It's easy to justify why you're in the position. Well, I got a lot of stuff going on. I'm teaching others. And so, I take a lot of the brunt from everybody. No. I wasn't getting any opportunities less or more than anybody else. And that's a hard pill to swallow, especially when you're in sales. Because in sales, dude, you can justify anything away, right? You can explain it all away. So quickly, while my dogs are upset trying to get in the office, trying to get on camera, let me rock out, man, with 5 lessons that I learned. The first one, what am I doing wrong? The first one, they said, Marsh, immediately, they didn't even breathe in and they told me, you're selling too hard. Ariana Huffington wrote, life's a dance between making it happen and letting it happen. And she went on to say that some of the worst times and the worst results came about when she tried to force things through and make it happen. And the customers will tell you what it'll take to sell them. But because I was so desperate in trying to get my numbers up, I became me focused and not others oriented. And let me tell you how funny life is. So I thought about what I was going to talk about today, which is going to be also on the Sales Life Sales Edition podcast. Be sure and tune into it or subscribe to it. And I see Joshua Medcalf. Those of you who have listened to me for a while, Joshua Medcalf wrote Pound the Stone, Chop Wood, Carry Water, 2 of my favorite books. And Joshua did a video yesterday. And he said this. He said, the ultimate illusion of the human experience is control. And he said, the great leaders are the ones who surrender to the outcome. And it made me think back to an episode that I did a while back about Cal Ripken. And when Cal Ripken felt fear, he would ask himself, he said, do you fear the preparation or do you fear the result, the outcome? If you fear the preparation, then do something about the preparation. But you got to surrender to the outcome. And Medcalf went on to say that it's a strange thing how life works. When you surrender to the outcome, those who surrender because they're not afraid of dying, they're not afraid of failing. Those who surrender stand to gain the most because they're letting things happen. They're not trying to make things happen. Second lesson I learned. Why am I finishing dead last? He said, Marsh, you're not being you. They went on to say that, you know what, bro? People love coming into your office. People love coming back to you. And so when people come in, even though they hate buying cars, the people, when they come into you, you make it fun. You make the experience, you're laughing, you're having a great time. And even though it's a serious decision, they walk out of your office, Marsh, and they feel good about the decision because you educated them all the way through. He said, you're not being you right now. Let me tell you what you're doing. You're presenting. And when they tell you no, you get defensive. And they went on to say, they said, Marsh, look, I don't know if you know or not. I'm 6'3". They said, I don't know if you know or not, but you have a intimidating stare. And when you lock into somebody and you stare at them, and they said, look, I've had meetings with you before where you've had to deliver a tough message to me. And the way that you stare at me, is kind of frightening. And that's exactly what you're doing with your customers. Your customers are telling you no. And instead of being relaxed and letting it happen, you get defensive and you're selling too hard. Loosen up, relax, surrender to the outcome. The third one, you're being too wordy. Isn't it a funny thing when you're on a slick spot, how many words you try to insert in a presentation? Sometimes it's to cushion the rejection. And if you use too many words, your customers are always going to default to no. They're always going to default to it because they're confused. And they told me, they say, you are technically sound. Your process is great. Your explanations are great. There is not a question that a customer can ask you that you do not know the answer to. But just because you know it all doesn't mean you need to tell it all at once. And that's exactly what I was doing. In an effort to pull my numbers up, I was preloading all the objections. So all the objections that I could possibly think of, I worked those into my presentation. And so what I ended up doing is I presented way wordy with all the preconceived objections in there. So that way it wouldn't be an objection. And what was it? It was a no. And because I had front loaded everything, I had no comebacks. I just said it. And sometimes what you have to do as a salesperson is, yes, know the facts, know everything, present it, but be ready. Be clear, be bold, be concise. Say it. Thorough in as few words as possible. And then wait for the rejection. Wait for the objection. It's going to come. You know it's going to come. Anthony Anarano said the first no is free. The rest of them, dude, you got to earn it. So the first no is a knee-jerk no anyway, especially when they're confused. So I was getting assaulted by the number one word that I've heard my whole life. No. And it's like I had nowhere else to go. So I'd stare at you and I'd get defensive and say, look, you really need to do this. No, I'm good. And you give off such a negative energy and you're not being helpful. The customer's just like, peace. I'm out of here. Because you ain't being you. The fourth one, you're deaf to your own teachings. Let me tell you what one of my younger managers told me, who kicked my butt. He said, you know what, Marsh? I've learned everything that I know from you. And it's like you're deaf to your own teachings. Boom. It's like you're not listening to anything that you taught us. And he said, I know you know it. I know you live it. I've seen you. And I love the fact that I can sit there and watch you and learn from you. But you need to learn from yourself. And what that means is sometimes you have to disengage emotionally, pull back, and go back through some of your own teachings and be your own self-coach. And also ask for help sooner. So last night, long day, hard day, not a very good day. My mind immediately started going to here we go again, right? The screams of here we go again. And so, you know what I ended up doing? I caught myself and I went through every single one of my deals mentally and talked about, did you present? Did you counter? Where were the loopholes? What could you have done better? Went through every one of those. And every single one of those, I was satisfied. I had no regrets. Oh, I should have done this. Even though it didn't have the right result, I worked the right process. I was relaxed. I let it happen. I offered different ways of them looking at it. And the results, I surrendered to the results. It's not that I'm happy with a goose egg. No. But see, if you surrender to the outcome, but you fully prepare for what's incoming. You're set up, knowing, presenting, relaxing, listening. Everything's going to be what it's going to be. I always say, man, you cannot control whether a customer buys from you or not, but you can heavily influence it. And the way that you influence is you got to listen, and you got to offer different ways of them looking at it. All right, last one. We're going to wrap this thing up. Lesson number 5. There's always next. Kerry Walsh Jennings said that, dude. I live by this all the time. There's always next. Next is a new opportunity. It's not a repeat of the previous outcome. Dude, you got to understand something. You get in a scarcity mentality when you try to, those dryer sheets and they cling to you. Well, that's what we do with the losses. They seem to cling to us. And so we seem to, even though they're totally different circumstances, totally different customers, totally different scenarios. My sales manager told me when I first started in the business, he said, Marsh, every deal is a thumbprint. They're all going to be a little bit different. Even though it could be the same type scenario, they're all going to go down different. You got to understand that. I wasn't treating it as a thumbprint. Everything was, oh, here we go again. There's always next. And so you have to segment the two. Next is a new opportunity. Your deal is not related to the previous deal. It's a new opportunity. Think about waiters, okay? Waiters have the unique, and I'm so glad I was in the food service industry. Shout out to the waiters. Please tip your waiters. Tip them well, because it's hard. But I'm so glad, man, I was a waiter, because I had to learn that even though I had a 10 top and they leave me $3 with crushed crackers ground and spilled everything and mashed everything into the carpet, I can't take that $3 tip from 10 people with a jacked up whole section and carry that on to the next table. I can't, bro. And so I had to learn, though I'd forgotten, I had to learn to segment the two, man. I had to isolate them. Next. It's the next opportunity. So again, to wrap this thing up, man, you have to be the student. There are times with your expertise and your experience, and you've been doing this a long time, but you can't stay the teacher all the time. And sometimes, man, you need to drop your ego. Tapping my chest. You got to put your pride aside, and you got to say, hey, what am I doing wrong? And if I would have done that a long time ago, man, I probably would have cut down a few weeks at least on that. So this episode is going to be on the Sales Life Sales Edition. For those of you who are in sales, man, be sure and subscribe to that. It's the orange one, not the red one. The red one is for the Sales Life. If you notice, I changed my boxes out. And also, if you get value out of it, there's some good episodes on there. Not to toot my own horn, because I'm just relaying the message. It's not about me. But there's some really good messages about slipping your momentum. I hate sales. There's some good ones on there, man, that you may want to check out. And if you find any sort of value, the ratings, man, are super, super important. Somebody left me a rating. I appreciate it. Also, leave a review, man. If you take 90 seconds and just leave a review of what the Sales Life Sales Edition means, also, that'll help bubble the listings up as well. And I'll be back on Wednesday with a live episode. But with the Sales Life, the other Sales Life, the red box Sales Life, for those who are not necessarily in the sales profession, who are building the life skills. But dude, I talk to a lot of people, man, and they listen to the Sales Life and they're like, bro, I'm not even in sales, but I get something out of it. So remember, the greatest sale that you will ever make is a sale you on you, because you're more than enough. Stay amazing. Stay in the sales life. All right, now that I ended that, because that's what goes on to the podcast, let me come back around and say hello to some great people who are always on here. Good morning, Nat. Thanks for being here, man. Dan, I appreciate you, brother, always. And we are going to go live, man. We gotta make that happen. Also, this is one of my favorite new episodes. It's right up there with Bowling with Bumpers. Thanks, Mark. I know who that is. And Thomas, Thomas is one of my partners, man, and he was the one who kept it real, and I appreciate that. It means a lot to me, also. All right, let's read the next one. Law of averages. And sorry, it doesn't have the username as you can see on there. Law of averages. Can't get your mojo taken down by the 10%. 10 percenters, man. Let's talk real quick about the 10 percenters. 10 percenters. That is the exact term that I use. Do not let 10% of people, of customers, ruin 90% of your month. You're going to have the 10 percenters. And I call these 10 percenters, these are bottom feeders that just want the sell price, don't want nothing from you, and want all the money for theirs. Okay. These are the 10 percenters. The 10 percenters are the rude, nasty customers who blow up on you on the phone, who burn off on you in your face, who just try to jack you up emotionally, who come into your office and who are rude. Those are the 10 percenters. And isn't it amazing how we give them 90% of our, that's Corey. Thanks, Corey. It's 10%. Isn't it amazing how we let 10% of the scenarios totally jack up 90% of our month, if not 150%, and then we carry it over. And then what's crazy is it perpetuates, doesn't it? So what happens is you let the 10% kick in, they ruin 90% of your emotions and 100% of your results. Then you're going off on everybody. And what happens is it perpetuates and it gets carried on to the next scenario, to the next customer, to the next month. And before you know it, that 10%, if you don't isolate it and call it out for what it is, that 10%, well, all of a sudden, that small, all it takes is a little bit of yeast to make the dough rise, right? It's that yeast that you put in the bread of your sales. And you let that 10% come down there. And you say, you know what? I'm burned out. This business isn't for me anymore. And that's what happens. So great input. Thanks, Corey. Corey is over there. Those of you who are in Lake Charles, man, go check him out, man. He's over there at Lake Charles Toyota. Great dude. He's one of those salespeople who is in the industry and is a true professional. He carries himself as a true professional. So Corey, thanks for being a bright spot in the sales industry. And that's what these episodes are, man. The Sales Life Sales Edition is to, dude, you want people to look at you different, then you got to carry yourself different. You got to work different, and you got to have different results for your customers. It's got to be a win-win situation for everybody involved. So with that, man, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you so much for giving me your time. It means a lot to me. 20 minutes, man, that you gave me. Totally am grateful for it. So be sure and leave your comments below. If you're just now watching this and we're already gone, man, leave your comments. I'll come back around. Tag someone who needs to hear this. And also, if you could, check out the Sales Life, subscribe to it. It's going to be on, you can subscribe to like 400 videos on YouTube. Some of them are my Fat Boy videos. And then there's other ones that are, you can subscribe also to the podcast, both podcasts, if you would. And I hope you continue to get value. I'll bring what I can, man. And hopefully it resonates with you. Any suggestions that you may want to have for future episodes, call me. Or DM me. I would love to get some feedback from you. So with that, have an amazing day. Stay in the sales life.